G'day. This week it's all about safety, your safety. Now there's been a couple of things that have been on my mind for a while, and I'd love for you to know about it. You can either agree or disagree. If you've got any comments, please pop them down below. Now one of those things that I'd like to talk about is having your lights on when you're driving out in the country. Now it must be reasonably serious, because all government cars, when they start up their car, their lights come on, and manufacturers for the last few years have been making all cars with DRLs, which are daylight running lights, so that when you're driving those lights come on automatically. And in places like South Australia and Northern Territory, they think it's so important, not enough to make a law, but quite often you'll see signs, if you're driving in the country, please drive with your lights on. So anyway, I'm starting to dribble, so let's go. Now you can see my car is coming up to the intersection. I'm about to turn left. What a lot of people will do will look to the right and see there's nothing coming, so that's fine. And often they'll just turn into that lane. Now the thing that worries me is, did they check to the left to see whether any cars coming the other way or trucks are being passed in that section? One safety feature I'm really big on is driving with your lights on when you're on the highway. I'd love to see it so that it's any time you're on the highway, 80 kilometres or more zone, you've got to have your lights on. To be honest, there's no drain on the power, there's no drain on anything, but having driven so many kilometres around Australia, I know that sometimes I'll be driving in it, not dark, but it's not that bright, and suddenly cars will turn up, you just can't see them. So there's these ones, these are actually DRLs, but you quite often will have these as fog lights. I'm not sure if you can change over the bulbs to make them DRLs, but certainly I'd take my chance. I know in some states it's against the law to be driving with your fog lamps on, but really you want to give yourself every chance so that someone can see you. You don't want to take a chance and say, oh well, you know, you want to be seen, seriously. So the other choice you could have is just driving with your lights on. Don't worry about fog lamps and DRLs. But as I say, I can't stress enough, it's sometimes very, very hard to see other cars coming the other way. Give yourself a big chance. When you're going to raise or lower the jockey wheel, make certain that your chains are connected to the Caravan. Now the reason for that is if something happens and as you're jacking it up or jacking it down, the weight changes and suddenly your wheel chock doesn't hold and the Caravan starts rolling away. There is nothing you can do but watch it. So while you're parked, you should have the handbrake on. I'm going to lower the jockey wheel so that the Caravan and car will now be connected. If you have the luxury of these, which I've talked about on a previous video, they are just fantastic. You just slip them in, done. Always check as well on your chains with your D-shackle. Make certain that the little bolt nice and tight. What I've done is I've connected that bolt, connected that bolt with a cable tie. cut that off all nice and tidy, so it always should be fine. And as I said, with these you just slip them in. It's just awesome, it's so good. One in, crossover, you probably know that, cross over your chains. And why do you cross over your chains? Because on the most bizarre situation where your caravan come up and got disconnected from the car and the caravan, there's some chance you would, even though you might do some damage, there's some chance you might be able to control it still connected with those chains. That's why you don't have them separate, you have them crossed over. Gives them extra weight, support. Here we go, so we're now going to lower the jockey wheel. It's not a good sound. Okay, now I've got the D35, so that's that type of connection from the caravan drawbar to the car. The other type you might have is you might have the ball, and the little cup sits over the top. Now with that type, you've got to be careful when it's over. You've got like a little side clip. You've got to make certain that that's come down and connected in. And with that, again, it's always not a bad idea to put a pin in or a little padlock, just so you know it's not going to bounce up and come off. With the D35, it's a matter of just pressing a little button here. That means if that won't click in like that, means that the D35 is not properly on the toe ball. And if now it has, then I can successfully put, if I haven't squashed it too much, this is the dust cover. So, and I'll put the dust cover over the top. Now the D35 is designed in such a way that if that dust cover doesn't come on, won't click in, that means you've probably forgotten to click that little button. I always have trouble securing this dust cover, so I just use the butt of the hammer, give it a little tap, and well, that's it. Now just finger tight, I can't pull it off. That means it's definitely clipped down and locked on, and that's also a double safety to remind me that's done. So there you go. Now we can release the handbrake, turn off the gas, turn the fridge inside to 12 volt, take off the jockey wheel, and we should be reasonably safe. Don't forget as well, sure you won't, is to connect all the connections. So I've got the Anderson plugs connected, give me power, the trailer plugs connected to work on my lights, and I'm just going to now connect my video cable, and that will connect my rear camera, which is on all the time I drive. Now, I'm sure a lot of people have got their own opinions whether this is a good idea or not, but for me personally, I think it's a great idea. So basically what it is my reversing camera, which is on the back of the Caravan, is on as often as I want it. So there's the power button there, just press that button and it'll come on. Now I find it really helpful when I'm in the city, because the traffic can be pretty crazy, and with this I can actually see cars behind me and beside me, potentially partly beside me. But out in the country, when I'm driving, the rear vision mirrors can be only so good, but I find with this particular monitor and the reversing camera, I find that it gives me a pretty good indication of cars behind me, so I can drive accordingly. And if I see that my driving style is holding everyone up, then I'll pull over to the side, then let that crew go through, and then I'll get back on the highway. And I can do all of that because I can see this monitor. And also it's fantastic for parking, especially as a one-person band like myself. When I'm backing, I will back it up, open the door, run around, have a quick look, go back a bit more, and I'll just keep doing that until I'm safely between the trees or wherever I need to be. If you're just starting out and you're not a seasoned caravanner, it's probably not a bad idea to write yourself down a little list of all these things you've got to do. Because the other thing I didn't do with all of my connections, I didn't connect this. It's called a breakaway, and that's got to be connected. It's connected now. That's got to be connected, so a breakaway works. It's electronic all the way, goes all the way up into the Caravan. It's got its own little electronic system. And what happens is if the car and the Caravan get completely separated, the breakaway has a breakaway switch. That whole thing gets pulled out, and then that pulls on the brakes of the Caravan. The Caravan, wherever if it's basically still on its wheels, it should pull up somewhere along the road, and you can pull up separately. Let's hope that never happens. When you're backing up into a caravan spot, I suggest you always have 2 UHFs, old school walkie-talkies, and you've got them obviously turned on. You're able to talk to each other on the same channel, and basically what you're doing is the person guiding will give all the instructions to the person doing the driving and backing up. And here's what I don't suggest you do. Okay. Yep, good. Come back about come back about 1.5 meters. Yeah, well, you know what, 1.5. All right, well, so many feet. Yeah, that's good. Come back. Right hand down. No, harder. Right hand down. Oh, I meant left hand down. Sorry. So start again. Go forward. Good. Now go back. Come back straight. Actually, yeah, right hand down. Right hand down. All the way. No. Oh. Start again. What? Really? That's what not to do. What I suggest you do, now I'm not the expert, but I've got a rough idea. If you've got 2 people and you've got someone guiding you, I always suggest no sounds, so you don't even need the walkie-talkie, because believe me, if I'm guiding and you're about to hit a tree, you'll hear me, and I'll be, ah. So if I'm guiding, I'll make certain I'm standing, that I can see the driver's mirror. And if I can see the driver's mirror, he can see me, or she can see me. And what I'll do is I will indicate like that as the person's getting closer. And they can see that, and they can decide when they want to stop. It's just so much easier. Left hand down, right hand down, forget it. I know I've talked to you at length about this, about the wheel chocks, but they are really, really important. It's a lot of money just to go floating down the road, hitting a tree or running off the road or whatever, all by itself. So I'm on a very slight slope here. The slope's sort of coming down this way. So rather than I normally will put a chock on the back wheel, one that way and one that way and one that way. But because it's running down a hill, and as I'm doing up the jockey wheel, the whole caravan's lifting and starting to roll backwards, potentially. So I put the 2 chocks, one on the back of the back wheel and the back of the front wheel. That way, as it's jacked up and starting to roll, it'll take the weight on those 2 rubber chocks. Now, yeah, I can't stress enough. The plastic ones are okay for a light van. Even so, I've still destroyed them. Maybe it's a skill I've got, not a great skill. These little chocks are a bit expensive, but a great investment, and they are a bit heavy, but again, you know. So there you are, chocks away. And you can tell they're working because I can see at the moment how much that tyre is pushing on that chock, and on that chock it's already started to squash it a bit, so they're definitely working nice. Now I know I've talked about these before, but it's worth another mention. These little yellow plastic things are called trucking wheel nut indicators. They basically, what you do is you buy them in a pack. Now when you get buying them, make certain you get the exact size for your wheels, so you can measure them and then order them accordingly. Pretty sure you have to buy the whole lot at one time. And the purpose of them is basically, once you stick them on, you can stick them on at any angle, but you stick them on deliberately so that the two pointers point to each other. Now the purpose of that is, rather than you have to check your wheel nuts every day or every week or quite regularly, if at any point in time then you do a quick walk around the caravan and you find one of the indicators is pointing up that way, that means that this wheel stud has come loose. So then you take them all off, check them, and if that happened, I'd check every wheel. Okay, safety. Don't forget to take the jockey wheel off. Tighten up the bracket, put away the jockey wheel. We're almost ready to go. Once you're hooked up, you need to check all your lights. It's a bit more difficult for me because travelling alone, but quite often I'll yell out to someone and say, "Oh, do us a favour, just let me know all my lights are working." So let's go check them. Well, there you have it, a video all about safety. Some of that might be new to you, others you might already know, but it might be a gentle reminder. Really hope you can make use of that, and if you found the video useful, helpful and or entertaining, please give it a thumbs up. By the way, I've just done some research. It turns out 90% of the people who watch my videos are not subscribed. So if you could help by subscribing, that would be great. And if you think the video is worth sharing, that too would be great. And until next time, this is Paul Wheel Drive, signing off.